But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it. And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
Yeah, maybe you should get the lawyer that worked on that Covington Catholic school case. What was that, a $200 million settlement? I think, Charlie, you could use the money. And your student, Steph.
Charlie Kirk recently made headlines with a lawsuit for $100 million. Additionally, they had to practice their dramatic size before they could. Megyn Kelly arrived with no chill and a verbal flamethrower. It goes beyond a simple lawsuit. It's a complete meltdown worthy of popcorn. Additionally, Megyn's remarks are so vicious that they ought to be marked with a warning. Why does Joy appear to have scented a lawsuit linger around? And what did she say that caused Whoopi to blink in? Morse code? This chaos is premium grade.
What do you call it? This Turning Point conference with all the smoke? What are they, smoking something down there? Or it's like, whatever. Anyway, they were out there. Nazis were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs.
Whoa, the drama. Charlie Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA, threatened to sue The View. And let me tell you, the nonsense that ensued is...
No, Megyn Kelly steals the show here as she sits comfortably outside the circus tent and tosses flaming sarcasm into the lion's den with the joy of someone who packed a folding chair and marshmallows. Since this is more than just a lawsuit, it's a Broadway show with a courtroom setting.
Kirk took issue with this depiction of his organization. Kirk maintains that Turning Point USA is not affiliated with anti-Semitism or white supremacist. In a strongly worded tweet, the 28-year-old stated, "Talking to lawyers, many think we have a strong case. You cannot smear minors as Nazis and get away with it. It impacts them for the rest of their life. Hashtag sue the..."
Megyn is also not a member of the cast. She is the reviewer who enters halfway through, chuckles at the screenplay, and begins analyzing the performance in real time while the performers are still performing. Her goal is to dissect the entire idea and reorganize it into something much more amusing, not to take sides. She is taking a side this time, though. Additionally, she selected Kirk, Charlie.
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right. Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever.
Megyn is also not a member of the cast. She is the reviewer who enters halfway through, chuckles at the screenplay, and begins analyzing the performance in real time while the performers are still performing. Her goal is to dissect the entire idea and reorganize it into something much more amusing, not to take sides. She is taking a side this time, though. Additionally, she selected Kirk, Charlie.
Hot mess that they air in the mornings called The View had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. 4 legal.
You let them in.
President, open your
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit. Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me. And it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So my bad. I'm sorry.
Okay.
What they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side. And then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern.
Not because she considers him to be a treasure of the country. The reason her $100 million lawsuit isn't just an extravagant headline-hungry ego trip isn't because she tapes photographs of him to her mirror. Rather, it's her kind of theatrical. Additionally, Megyn Kelly enjoys a good show, particularly when it features The View stumbling over their own pride in front of a live studio set. It's hardly a given that Charlie Kirk will file a defamation claim against the Laughing Coffee, clatch known as The View. Almost Fate is etched onto a marble monument next to a bust of Ronald Reagan squinting disapprovingly. This man most likely has a framed copy of the First Amendment on his bedside table, and he looks at it as if it were giving him a seductive wink. It's not only his favorite story to read before bed, it's his character. Therefore, he doesn't simply brush it off like a typical adult living in society when The View's cauldron of discussion bursts over with the customary eye-roll-inducing sarcasm and says something sarcastic about Charlie. No, sir. Before his morning protein shake, he calls. His legal team writes a press release before breakfast and aims for courtroom glory like it's the Iowa caucuses.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis.
To be clear, though, this isn't about right or wrong. This has nothing to do with justice, truth, or even real injury. This has to do with spectacle. This concerns transforming a lighthearted remark into a high-profile litigation. This involves shouting defamatory remarks while standing in the middle of the crowd and waving a finger as if it were a brand new catchphrase. Additionally, Kirk thrives on it. He isn't looking for tranquility. He is trying out for his next highlight reel on TV news. And who better than Megyn Kelly to recount this ridiculousness? Except this time, she's not merely teasing from the mezzanine like a retired gladiator, drinking Chardonnay in Rome. No, she is the main focus. Kirk's legal docs in one hand, popcorn in the other, providing her unwavering support for the entire circus. She is essentially the mastermind behind this high-profile litigation, transforming every insult into a performance, and every court document into a monologue. Megyn would already be vying for a Tony if this were Broadway. As the rest of the media clutches its pearls and gasps into their New York Times subscriptions, they are arguing about the sanctity of daytime television and First Amendment ethics. Megyn Kelly announces a defamation complaint in a stylish manner while sporting her aviators as if she were in a Top Gun sequel with a legal theme.
Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed, if you ask them. As we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin.
January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, like World War II, things that happened, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust. And
this isn't one of those tedious finger-wagging courtroom plays either. There are no face-to-face showdowns. No syrupy apologies inserted between commercials for arthritis cream, no faux civil split screens with passive-aggressive grins, and beautifully curated throw pillows in the backdrop. Megyn and Charlie Kirk operate from a safe and hilarious altitude. Think stealth bombers of sarcasm dumping pinpoint mockery from 30,000 FT without ever needing to circle back and explain the punchline. And The View, they don't respond. They can't. They're too busy performing spiritual yoga to cope with the sudden legal wrecking ball that's just crashed through their glass coffee table, shattered their feigned civility, and knocked over Whoopi's tea. Because let's be clear, Charlie Kirk didn't just sue a newspaper. He didn't slam a cease and desist on some college newsletter. or threatened to sue a Reddit member in their mom's garage. He went for The View. The View, the midday volcano of estrogen-fueled gladiator combat, interrupted only by commercial breaks and the occasional ill-advised joke about politics, history, or fundamental facts. If you wanted to weaponize clashing personalities, stir in a cauldron of unresolved personal grudges, add a pinch of commercial sponsorship, and top it off with smug moral superiority. You'd have this perfect potion of chaos.
Disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space.
And Charlie, he looked at that mess, this live-action, caffeine-fueled TED Talk and dysfunction, and said, yes, let's sue that. Like a man walking into a tornado with a lawsuit in one hand and popcorn in the other, this isn't a defamation suit. This is a drive-by roasting wrapped in legalese. And Megyn Kelly, she's the hype woman. She's not sighing in disappointment or talking about the erosion of civil discourse. She's gleefully pulling receipts and tossing gasoline on the fire. She supports Kirk not just legally but spiritually, because this isn't just about clearing a name. It's about clapping back with a vengeance so loud even the audience applause sign can't keep up. When Kirk announced the lawsuit, Megyn didn't roll her eyes. She rolled up her sleeves, and then she got to work dismantling the glittery delusion that The View is above reproach. According to Megyn, The View isn't even good television. It's just a hideable potluck where everyone brought hot takes and forgot the facts, and now they're being asked to pay the bill literally.
Get this little lecture from, forgive me, those bitches over at The View.
I'm a Christian girl. When something like this happens to you, like this assassination attempt, and you say something like God was watching me, that is a very unchristian thing to say because it's very narcissistic. Well, God was watching me and not watching them. There's something very disturbing.
Not what he said.
I should have pulled the plug on that mic yesterday.
That's obnoxious. I don't know what church she goes to. That is how people of faith talk, and the intimation is never, he was looking out for me, but not those monsters.
Megyn is fully aware of how this operates. The audience hurls insulting remarks at Mardi Gras as if they were throwing beads. After being hit in the ego by one, Charlie is now demanding compensation with a decimal point that seems like it would fit on the budget of a Marvel film. The View's demise, in Megyn's opinion, is long overdue. She has witnessed their sanctimony, their arrogant looks, and their attempt to frame every problem in a lighthearted and condescending manner. When someone tosses a pie back, Megyn reaches for a fork. She didn't have to speak with Kirk. Sharing a screen wasn't necessary for her. Now she has all three of them: a target, a lawsuit, and a headline that nearly shouted for ridicule. Charlie Kirk doesn't really have to prevail in this case. The joke is that the instant it was submitted, the win occurred. When it first showed, up in news tickers. The point at which hashtags began to choke social media, that's the objective. You sue The View to disgrace them, not to get a settlement. Megyn is aware of this and is essentially creating the playbook. After viewing the case from her digital vantage point, she starts telling its story like a Netflix true crime documentary. However, it is the homicide of dignity rather than murder. She attacks the intellectual gymnastics of the perspective, their moral haughtiness, their belief that their midday monopoly on opinion is inviolable, and the beauty The View does not even defend itself. As they stir their coffee in awkward quiet, they act as though they are unaware that they are now the target of jokes. Megyn doesn't require refutations. She requires the quiet. Because the loudest admission of guilt is quiet in a show that relies only on sound. Of all the tag teams, Kirk and Megyn are the most peculiar. By merely pointing out that the Emperor lacks a wardrobe stylist, one is suing the other, and both are winning the public relations battle. There was no need to start a debate. The mockery is plenty. Megyn keeps up her masterful media parody as the lawsuit progresses. She continues to use rhetorical bombs whenever the case is brought up. Not only on the viewpoint, but also on the audience that supports them. Those who believe that sarcastic remarks presented in a reasonable manner equate to well-informed views. For Megyn, everything is a part of the performance. And if popcorn is being distributed, she will grab the additional butter. She continues to make fun of the case. She seizes the chance to destroy the ecology as a whole. The superficial togetherness, the phony empowerment, and the shallow arguments that were presented as in-depth she handles The View as though it were an unscripted reality show. And now there's a significant storyline twist. A real case with real repercussions and a real audience who is enthralled with the entire drama.
More of it from Anna Navarro on The View. Listen to this person.
The Hunter Biden story, the scandal, the this, the that, it's also the story of a father's love. And Joe Biden has never and will never give up on his son Hunter, and will never treat him lesser than. And so he is a father first. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, serving on Ukrainian natural gas boards, smoking with prostitutes and throwing guns into school zones. There, but for the grace of God, go I. Are you kidding me?
But then he shows up at his...
This is political theater to Charlie. For Megyn, it's hilarious gold. Collectively, they are demonstrating that daytime television is subject to criticism. Indeed, it could be the ideal target. It is blatantly self-centered and predicated on the idea that opinion is equivalent to fact. Kirk and Megyn just used the subtlety of a chainsaw to infuse a reality check. They don't have to share a stage. They don't require an in-person meeting. They have a digital duet. Sarcasm unites them, and their message is unmistakable. You had better be prepared for someone to return the favor with interest if you dish it out on national television. Megyn Kelly knows just where to shoot, even though she isn't pursuing litigation. She is not being loyal to Charlie personally. She sees a fellow chaos agent in him, which makes her happy professionally. Someone who is aware that trust in today's media is gained through edge rather than ethics. Thus, Megyn sharpens her own liners as Kirk hones his legal arguments. They don't have to work together. Megyn is smiling while playing the violin solo from a rooftop in the lawsuit, which is itself a symphony. In the meantime, The View is silent. There were no clever retorts or moral outrage, only a slow but steady realization that perhaps they are not infallible and that their throne of self-importance isn't as impregnable as they believed. And Megyn, like a Shakespearean critic tired of lousy performance, is still laughing, drinking coffee, and throwing symbolic tomatoes from the balcony. Who wins the story is more important than who wins the case. Additionally, Charlie, How To Sue a talk show and steal the spotlight is a chapter that Kirk and Megyn Kelly are co-authoring. Just two people with microphones and a remarkable inability to tolerate sanctimonious nonsense, no face-offs, no apologies. Kirk and Kelly carry on with their roasting, while The View looks blankly into camera 3 and wonders how it all went. 2. Voices recounting a takedown with flaming sarcasm and no remorse, no rebuttals, no counterclaims. Because Megyn and Charlie are billionaires, and the view is that they simply received the invoice in a world where ridicule equals money.